Well, good afternoon. My name is Bruce Noble. I'm a regional director for California Community Colleges in the energy construction utility sector. And we are co-hosting this webinar with our friends from ESCO Group. And the title of this program is Resources for Trades, and particularly in the HVAC programs. And with that, I will turn the introductions over to Eugene Silberstein.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Bruce. My name is Eugene Silberstein, and I am the Director of Technical Education and Standards at the ESCO Institute. On behalf of our entire team, would like to thank James Moranti and the energy, construction, and utility sector for the opportunity to present this session with you and spend some time with you. We realize that most of you are navigating difficult times right now, and we want to take some time to share some important information with you that may very well help you on a number of fronts, from retaining program support and funding, to recruiting students for your program remotely, to distance education and verifying hands-on skills in a socially distanced environment. We're certain that you'll gain a great deal of information from spending some time with us today. For those of you who might not be familiar with ESCO Group, let me take a few minutes to provide you with a 30,000-foot view of who we are and what we do. The ESCO Group, which is comprised of the ESCO Institute and its affiliates, serve the HVACR and building science fields. Some of the organizations that make up the ESCO Group include HVAC Excellence, the Carbon Monoxide Safety Association, the ACNR Safety Coalition, ESCO Press, ESCO International, the Green Mechanical Council, and the ESCO Document Registry. Some of the programs we offer include programmatic accreditation, student outcome assessments, portable and stackable credentials, educator credentialing, curriculum, e-learning, and professional development. Simply stated, we certify students and technicians, we credential educators, and we accredit HVACR training programs. It is our mission to improve the overall quality of HVACR education and the industry as a whole. However, today, we're really here to discuss how we can help you. We have a number of members of the ESCO team on the call with you today. Jason Objut is one of the content developers at ESCO and is responsible for creating some of the really neat content you will hear about today. In addition, Jason and I work together on a number of products that are published by Cengage Learning, the most notable of which is their refrigeration and air conditioning technology title, which is presently in its 9th edition. Also on the call today is Renee Tomlinson. Renee is the executive director of the ESCO Group, and she oversees the strategic planning efforts, excuse me, and the day-to-day operations of the organization, which, as you can imagine, is a daunting task. And the funny thing is that Renee never stops working, and no matter how crazy things get, she never breaks a sweat. Such has been evidenced by the rough road we've all been traveling on over the past few months. You'll hear from both Renee and Jason a little bit later on, but I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Howard Weiss. Howard is the Executive Vice President of the ESCO Group, and together with Renee and our CEO, Jerry Weiss, they steer the ESCO ship. Howard brings a unique perspective to the organization, and he's responsible for many of the initiatives that are undertaken at ESCO. With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Howard.
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Bruce. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today, and I hope the information we provide will be helpful to you. COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all sectors of the American economy, including state budgets. As state leaders analyze the data, there will be budget cuts in many areas, including, unfortunately, education. What we want to do is make certain that you're armed with some data necessary to help your school leaders understand the importance, the significance of the HVAC industry, prior to them to make any decisions that may adversely affect your program or its funding. In addition, we're hoping that you can use some of this information for recruiting new students to your program. The United States Department of Homeland Security has classified certain segments of the workforce as essential, including HVAC. Why? Most people walk in a grocery store and see only food. However, we all see more. We see a network of refrigeration equipment being used to safely store, transport, protect the American food distribution system. Many Americans today are working from home, holding their meetings, classes, or attending conferences online. Yet they don't really understand what connects them. However, you do. You understand that it's data centers being cooled that allow for uninterrupted business conferencing on WebEx, Zoom, Google, your internet service, phone connectivity. Most people walk in a hospital. They see doctors and nurses. Once again, you see more. You see negative pressure rooms, which play an integral role in preventing the spread of infectious diseases. While you see these things, it's imperative we help others see them as well. This includes the administrators at your school, prospective students. The HVAC industry is substantially bigger than most people perceive, and it's essential to our well-being. I don't think it's any surprise we're experiencing the greatest loss of employment since the Great Depression. Estimates show that 1 out of every 4 Americans is either unemployed or underemployed. Despite these horrific numbers, HVAC employers are struggling to find enough qualified people to fill a multitude of vacant positions. So we're in an industry that's both essential and in demand. I'm hoping that this information will give you some ideas in stating the case to your administrators. But you now also have this unique challenge of how do you recruit someone online over Zoom? Well, to begin with, we need to help prospective students understand that not all opportunities awaiting them, all success stories, they don't begin with a 4-year degree. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that 20% of all jobs require a 4-year degree or higher. That means 80% do not. However, 67% of all jobs are classified as needing post-secondary technical education. That includes the HVAC industry. As children, we're told to follow our dreams. However, children make lifelong choices blindly, without any data to help them make these decisions intelligently. As a result, someone may wind up studying marine biology in Kansas, whereas I've checked there's no oceans. Students need to learn about the various occupations that are available to them by using facts, data. The Bureau of Labor Statistics provides this. They have a website, Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's BLS-Bravo-Lima-Sierra.gov. It's a free resource, provides occupational handbooks on 700 different occupations, including the requirements to get in a field, job outlook, local data, salary ranges. If someone takes the time to look at the occupational handbook for HVAC, they're going to find one of the fastest growing industries in the United States, offering careers that are essential, in demand, cannot be exported, automated, and in many cases, these jobs pay just as much, as if not more, than many jobs that require a 4-year degree. I hope this will give you some ideas in speaking to your administration and recruitment. And with this, I'd like to turn it over to Jason Objut.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Objut. I'm going to take you through some of our e-learning things here today. If you're like most teachers, you found yourself one day face-to-face in a comfortable classroom environment, and then the next day in an upside-down world of disorder and confusion the next. At ESCO, we want to make certain that you're aware of some valuable resources that are available right now to help you teach remotely in an effort to keep your training moving forward. These resources are going to include webinars, PowerPoint presentations, online courses, and some remote testing options. If you visit escogroup.org and click the e-learning center link, you'll find button marked webinars. Here you'll find dozens of sessions on a wide range of topics. The webinars bring industry-leading authors and manufacturers directly to your students, delivering content specific to the curriculum that you offer. Your students are strongly encouraged to create free accounts using their real names. At the end of each presentation or session completers will be prompted to download a free certificate of completion. These certificates can be emailed to instructors, printed at home, or added to a student's workfolio. To provide you with additional content that can help you teach remotely, our most popular instructor resources, such as PowerPoint presentations and instructor supplements, are available free of charge for a limited time. These resources correlate to our publications and are available to registered proctors free of charge. This material can be utilized in online classes being offered by instructors using their LMSs or online training portals. If you visit escogroup.org and click the e-learning center link, you'll be taken to the ESCO Learning Network, or ELN, where you'll have access to a plethora of training resources, including ebooks, training videos, our new workbench series, free webinars, and immersive learning courses. E-learning allows a person to learn something by reading about it, hearing about it, and then practicing what they've learned. Some of our first courses include the EPA Section 608 training course, the R410A safety training course, the gas heating course, our quick study guide course, Technical Training Associates HVACR training videos, and our newly released workbench series. Jim Johnson's Technical Training Associates video series are available for instant streaming. Each video explains fundamental concepts and it illustrates a step-by-step approach to learning how to troubleshoot a specific problem. The Workbench series is a compilation of short, concise, hands-on task videos targeting a very specific aspect of what the average HVAC technician is likely to encounter in the field. I would now like to turn things over to my colleague, Renee Tomlinson.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. This is Renee. I wanted to talk to you about some of the remote testing solutions. So in addition to having to change your programs on a dime, being in the classroom one day and teaching from home the next, obviously that means that the testing that needs to be done, you're not able to do face-to-face in the classroom with your students as well. And because of this, we've come up with some remote testing solutions. So we have options for providing students the closed book EPA Section 608 exam remotely. These options will allow your students with a computer or laptop containing a webcam and microphone to take closed book exams from home.
The information that follows now is a compilation of ideas and concepts that will hopefully prove to be useful as we navigate these rough times. This material was originally presented at an American Technical Education Association event, or ATEA, that we recently conducted. And as this material was being put together, the initial goal was to stress strictly the hands-on portion of the training offered in schools, but the presentation took itself on a slightly divergent course, as it seems that had I done so, we would be providing more questions than answers. And I'm quite certain that most, if not all of you, are on the meeting today to get some answers, so we'll try and give you some. Having said that, we will provide some important background and foundational information on which the suggestions for evaluating our students' hands-on performance will be based. So in essence, we will discuss what many of us are dealing with right now, what we can do right now, and what can be done moving forward. It's important to mention there is no magic potion that's going to solve all of our problems. Each and every situation is different, so we need to have options, just as you have options when you walk into a restaurant. Not everyone in your group or family wants the country fried steak. One solution cannot and will not address the challenges of all of your students. Each student's situation is different, and as such, will have to be addressed differently. Once again, there is no magic potion. It is my hope that the information being presented will stimulate future and continued discussion about how we collectively can meet the many challenges that lie ahead. And by collectively, I mean between instructors, administrators, and everybody just putting their heads together. The challenges we face are undoubtedly going to vary from town to town, from school to school, from state to state. And it is likely that each teacher and each individual, each administrator that's on this call right now is going to be functioning or is functioning under slightly different sets of rules and guidelines in place regarding how they will be moving forward. We're facing the unknown, but collectively, again, we're facing the unknown together. Right now, we're planting seeds, and we really need to see what grows together. We're teachers. We can handle a lot of things. Through our years in the classroom, we've handled a great deal. Right now, we have to concentrate on keeping our training moving forward. We have to keep our students active. We have to keep our students in the program. We have to keep them engaged in the learning process. Very important issue is we have to maintain the reputation of the schools we represent. We may have to modify, alter, reorganize, tweak, refine, however you want to define it. But we cannot under any circumstances compromise quality. The quality of students who complete our programs 6 months from now must, and I repeat, must be of the same caliber of those who graduated from our programs 6 months ago. Yes, we're facing challenges, but we also have to keep in mind that our students are facing unique challenges as well. And this is an all hands on deck effort, and we all need to work together. But on the flip side, challenges are not always bad. In fact, a great deal of good comes out of challenging situations. When faced with challenges, we find new ways to do things. We become leaner and meaner. We dig down deep, we rethink old thinking, but productive changes only come when we are active participants in the process. As we were putting this together, I kind of started remembering how I myself learned how to swim. The way I learned how to swim, I was pushed in the deep end of the pool, and I had two choices. It was give up or try and get to the end of the pool. And yeah, one choice was really, really bad, and one choice wasn't that bad. But after the fact, as you look back, you're like, well, hold it. You know what? The water is not as bad as I thought. The fear is always worse than the actual situation. Well, you know what? The water's pretty cool. This is kind of cool. How come I didn't do this sooner? And there are many similarities between learning to swim and learning to deliver content remotely. A lot of us, as we're going to see in a little bit, were and are very reluctant to move toward online. And those that are moving are seeing, hey, you know what? It's not as bad as it was. And the push for online learning is definitely not a new concept. Online learning is very popular in many areas, although not nearly as popular in career and technical education. The truth is that most people don't like change and are more likely to embrace the teaching methods that they themselves were taught with. So older teachers, no offense, as I am one, we're more likely to resist online teaching, while younger teachers are more likely to embrace it. Of course, I am definitely not stereotyping, but the mentality that things that worked in the past will continue to work in the future is embraced by many, many people. Well, the fact is that schools and classrooms in every sense have evolved. The tools that are used in the classroom have changed. The mentality and expectations of our students have changed. Students are more receptive to learning when the instruction is delivered in a manner that is in line with the way they function. Your students are using their iPhones every day. instruction should incorporate iPhones. It used to be, oh, you're in class, put your phone away. Now it's, you're in class, take your phone out and open up your psychrometrics app. So things have definitely changed, and we need to move with those times. There are many instructors that say, yeah, I am moving. I'm on the track. I'm on the track to deliver online training. Well, you can be on the track, but you really have to be moving along that track to avoid getting run over. What I want to do now is take a look at what we, in our socially distanced environment, still need to accomplish when we grant a certificate, diploma, or degree to our program completers. Well, when we issue or award a diploma or certificate, these are documents that inherently imply a number of things. These documents imply that the bearer has complied with the institution's general policies as well as the program's specific policies. The document serves to verify that the program completer has met all of the knowledge-based requirements as well as all of the skills-based requirements as set forth in the program's literature and course description. So how can a legitimate credential be awarded to someone who is not physically able to attend classes, take examinations, demonstrate skills, or otherwise participate in the activities that are required for successful completion of the program? Well, the remote learning part is relatively easy because the key word here is remote. When we use the word remote, we could be talking about across the room, around the corner, across town, or even across the country. And what I'm suggesting here might not be a cure-all, but definitely an option. If schools partner with each other and they share their best talent, students attending different schools can all benefit from the expertise of the air quote best instructors. And I know this from an initial standpoint sounds a lot like school A sharing the recipe for their secret sauce with school B, but many students choose a school, especially a building trades program, based on location as opposed to the teachers. And what I want us to do now is just take a quick look at a simple yet idealized example of what I'm talking about. So here we have ABC Community College, and this HVAC program at this college is made up of 9 courses, and these 9 courses are taught by 3 professors. And well, here we have Professor Gibson, and Professor Gibson, she teaches the basic air conditioning course, the installation and startup course, as well as the electrical fundamentals course. Now, Professor Gibson is most effective in the basic air conditioning course, but she knows enough to air quote get by in the other 2 courses. Similarly, Professor Miller teaches 3 courses, as you can see on your screen, but he's most comfortable in the control systems course. That's where he excels. Professor Ramirez, he teaches 3 courses, but he's a chiller guy. He grew up, he's been working on chillers for 30 years. And that's where his comfort zone is. I mean, like I said, he can get by in commercial refrigeration, system design, but he's happiest in the chillers. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not implying anything. The students in the HVAC program at ABC Community College are very happy with the education they're receiving. So there are no complaints, but there might be another option. Well, here is another college, and this is DEF Community College, and they also have an HVAC program, and this HVAC program coincidentally has 9 courses that closely resemble the courses at the previous college. And again, we have 3 professors. Professor Green teaching 3 courses. He's most comfortable with the electrical fundamentals class. Professor Jackson is also teaching 3 courses, but Professor Jackson, he's a heating systems guy. So he's a, that's his comfort zone. And Professor Cameron is a system designer. So this is where they're most comfortable with. Well, let's throw one more school, and this is college, GHI Community College. And once again, 3 professors. They have 9 courses, eerily similar to the other 2 colleges. And here we have Professor Smith. Boom, he's an installation and startup guy. Professor Evans, he is a diagnostics person. And Professor Klein excels in commercial refrigeration. So here we have 9 professors, each of whom specialize in one particular area. So in an ideal world, Professor Smith, who specializes in installation and startup, could theoretically teach an online course for the students in all 3 programs. And the same could definitely hold true for each of the other professors. So here we have, with each professor teaching his or her specialty, the students at all 3 schools are getting trained by the best. Of course, this is a perfect situation, and there are a lot of logistical issues that would need to be worked out. But this type of setup is not an all or nothing endeavor. There are some good schools that have implemented a portion of this strategy, and word on the street is that things are going really, really well so far. Let's shift gears and take a look at the normal progression as students make their way through an HVACR training program. Typically, students start with their basic courses and progress through the program until they finally reach the end where they enter the workforce. Definitely no rocket science here. Each of the courses is made up of a theory component and a practical component that involves hands-on practice and skills. The practical component of most courses is commonly completed in-house. The exception to this might be the last 1 or 2 courses in the program where students participate in an internship type experience. In the new environment we find ourselves, we can utilize these existing relationships to help fill the gaps in the hands-on training that our students get. Well, most HVACR service contractors, as Howard mentioned earlier, having been deemed essential workers, are still conducting business, although not quite as usual. With contractors, as employers of your graduates, having these individuals, these contractors on your program advisory boards clarifies the fact that you've already established strong relationships in the workforce. There are also companies that you probably already have relationships with that are participating in your program's existing internship activities. So it's an easy step to reach out to these partners and ask that their internships be extended from 40 or 60 hours to 100 or even 200 hours. And this creates a win-win-win situation. The students are getting hands-on experience they need. The contractor is getting free labor, extended interview times, and the institution is able to issue reliable credentials to its program completers. In this type of situation, the students would be performing more hands-on work. So if you look at the left where we have theory and practical, it's kind of a 50-50 mix. But on the right-hand side, the theory would be somewhat reduced, whereas the practical experience would be greatly increased. So as we're aware, the work that students do while they're interning varies greatly. And that varies from student to student, from company to company, from organization to organization, to school, and from school to school. So the question becomes, how do I know that my students did what I need them to do? And let's take a look at how we can answer that question. In preparation for the extended internship, the instructor could prepare a list of skills that the students must complete while interning. And this list might be called a skills verification form, which is, if you read Hebrew from right to left, it's a form that verifies skills. As a task or skill is successfully demonstrated, the supervisor from the company can sign off on that particular task. And once this sheet has been completed, it can be submitted back to the instructor where it is filed and kept as part of the student's permanent record. The importance of the previous scenario is that the completed form is included in the student's record. This provides documentation that the student, under the direct supervision of an industry professional, has performed the listed tasks. This serves to validate the credential being awarded while potentially reducing legal exposure that the institution might face if something goes wrong in the field. Awarding a credential to an individual who completes a program without verifying hands-on skills is a dangerous undertaking. Would you want your blood drawn by a phlebotomist who only learned how to draw blood by watching a YouTube video? Hopefully the answer is no. Would you remove your own wisdom teeth after reading a Self-Dentistry for Dummies book? Hopefully the answer is no. Forget about all those neat new haircuts you're going to see all around town as a result of overly ambitious people who are locked down and locked in their homes thinking, well, how hard can it be to cut my own hair? I have a feeling we're going to see the results of that walking around the streets in the weeks to come. The bottom line is that you wouldn't want a student who completed your program setting someone's house on fire while brazing refrigerant lines in the attic. Graduate of your program goes out, gets a job, does an install, brazing lines in the attic, burns the customer's house down, and when they're doing the investigation, oh, well, you know, where did this individual learn how to braze? Oh, well, he learned at XYZ community college. Oh, but you didn't have any face-to-face classes. Oh, yeah, we had the students watch videos on how to braze, so that's how he learned. That's not going to go over really, really well. Two options that can be used to help evaluate a student's skills are simulations and virtual reality platforms. It's important to note that these two options should really be used to supplement hands-on training, not replace it. Each of these two options have their benefits and drawbacks. Virtual reality provides a more real-world feel and often provides an accurate representation of equipment as well as its surroundings, as indicated on the top right corner. Equipment can be located on a setback, on a roof, in the backyard. The downside to virtual reality platforms are the availability and cost of the platform and the required hardware. Students will still likely need to go to the school to utilize this equipment, so the social distance benefit is somewhat negated. The simulation option offers less of a real-world feel, as shown by the two-dimensional simulation at the bottom right corner of your screen. Two-dimensional simulations provide more of a schematic type experience and do not require tool manipulation by the user. Three-dimensional simulations, they provide more of a real-world feel than the two-dimensional simulations, but still do not offer the immersive experience of VR. The benefit of the simulation option is that it's more cost-effective and can typically be accessed remotely. In the end, simulations and virtual reality platforms are best used to enhance and supplement live hands-on training, not replace it. Another viable option exists for those students of ours that are presently working in the field. This segment of our student population often has some field experience, and these students have decided to return to the classroom to brush up on the theory that they might otherwise have missed out on. These students, most of whom have smart devices or GoPro type devices, can make videos of themselves as they perform specific hands-on tasks. The student would be provided with a skills verification form very similar to the one we just discussed and would be responsible for submitting short videos to the instructor to verify that the student can accomplish the required tasks. As before, the completed form and even possibly the video clips can become part of the student's permanent record. Another option for evaluating a student's hands-on skills is to allow students into the lab environment on a limited and restricted basis. This would be accomplished by expanding the laboratory hours and have students scheduled to come in for a 2 to 4 hour session, depending on the tasks being completed. The number of students allowed to occupy the lab can be determined based on the physical size of the lab, the tasks being performed, and any institutional or governmental guidelines or restrictions that might be in place. Mind you, these restrictions will probably be very, very dynamic and change on a daily, possibly weekly basis. Depending on the restriction, the use of masks and gloves and the implementation of tool and equipment cleaning protocols might very well be required. Of course, this option would require that the instructor be in the training facility for an extended period of time. However, if used in conjunction with the talent sharing option that we discussed earlier, the reduction in lecturing hours can be offset by the increased face-to-face lab time. It's important that every effort be made to ensure that a safe, clean environment is maintained at all times. Implementing safety and cleaning practices should align with the guidelines set forth by the institution as well as the Centers for Disease Control, or CDC. Zoning a lab, which we'll discuss in a little bit, there must be access to fire extinguishers, first aid kits, eye wash stations, and other pieces of first aid and safety equipment. Students should be required to wear masks and gloves at all times while on school property or as appropriate. If group tools are to be used, they should be used on a rotating basis, and they should be cleaned thoroughly after each use. If at all possible, each student should have their own set of hand tools. For programs that provide their students with toolkits, arrangements should be made for students to receive their kits in a timely manner, so each student has their own dedicated set of tools to work with. As with group tools, equipment should be cleaned thoroughly after each use, and if possible, there should be a significant time gap between uses. Of course, social distancing should be enforced, and group breaks should be strongly discouraged. There are times where our labs aren't as big as we would like, and to social distance, that's going to greatly reduce the number of students that can occupy them. So if the existing lab space is not adequate, it may be possible to locate workbenches, equipment, and tools in a cordoned off portion of the parking lot adjacent to the HVACR instructional area. As you can see on the top left of this diagram, a number of parking spaces have been cordoned off, and there are workbenches in alternating parking spots. Of course, there are many things that must be considered with this option, whether administrative permissions, local governmental guidelines and restrictions, and equipment mobility will all factor into determining the viability of this option. And well, since I live in Southern California, the weather consideration is definitely not a factor. Well, here's what a typical HVACR lab might look like. Notice that equipment is strategically placed to encourage student interaction and cooperative learning scenarios. Air handlers are located above workbenches, while condensing units are remotely positioned to replicate real-life scenarios. Although ideal, the interaction of students does not bode well for most programs at this time. Without having to reposition and reconfigure the lab, as this can be a costly and time-consuming endeavor, there are options. By zoning the laboratory, a student can be assigned to a specific location or zone and would be required to stay in that zone. Notice that there is a common walkway set up in this figure, so the instructor can move from one zone to another without having to pass through or otherwise enter any other zone. Students can, one at a time, of course, enter the common walkway to use the restroom or get a tool. This configuration is a viable option as long as social distancing is encouraged and enforced, and once again, as you know, and group breaks are not permitted. So for example, a student working in zone 1, which is at the top right corner of your screen, that student can work on a walk-in box or a separate split type refrigeration system. In zone 2, a student can work on a reach-in refrigeration unit or possibly do some bench work. In zones 3 and 4, students can work on split type air conditioning systems. In zone 5, at the bottom, students can work on a wheeled trainer. Wheeled trainers, if possible, can also be brought outside, maybe even in the hallways of the building. Zone 6 is configured so a student can work on a split type refrigeration system. And finally, students can do bench work such as soldering, brazing, and piping or electrical work while in zone 7. So during these difficult times, it's really important that everything be documented. We need to keep records of student hours in the lab, and in some cases, even their temperatures. It might even be a great idea to require that each student bring their own personal thermometer with them each time they intend to do the lab. This will reduce contact between the instructor and the student. Students should be required to complete a participation form that acknowledges that the institution assumes no risk if an individual contracts an illness resulting from using the lab facilities. In the form, students should also have to acknowledge that to the best of their knowledge, they have not been sick or have not been in close contact with anybody who has been sick. Keep all records. Keep records and invoices from cleaning companies or services that you might have used to sanitize and clean your equipment and tools. If possible, even creating videos of the cleaning process may prove useful in the event that an issue arises at some point in the future. Again, we said this at the beginning, we're in uncharted territory right now. So there's no such thing as over documenting. It's better to keep the documentation and have it and not need it than go, wow, I wish I would have documented this. Document, document, document. So it's important to know that you are not alone through this crisis. ESCO is here to help you in any way we can. In these difficult times, budget cuts are likely. Be prepared to defend your programs. HVACR service, as Howard mentioned, is an essential service. This is a golden opportunity to recruit new students into our programs. Be ready to answer questions, be ready to provide solutions, and preach the benefits of a career in HVACR. Howard showed a slide earlier where we have over 30 million people that are unemployed right now. Well, if you look at the statistics, very, very few of those people are working in HVAC service. All right, we are essential, we are working. A lot of these people who are now unemployed are looking to get retrained, and they're looking to get retrained in an industry where they will not become unemployed. I've spoken to school owners across the country, and a vast majority of them are actually seeing increases in program enrollment. Once again, this is a golden opportunity to be recruiting into our programs. Remember, there is no magic potion. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. Everything is unique. So it's important that you share ideas with your colleagues, your program advisory board members, and your administration. If you're an administrator, be sure to share ideas and thoughts with your teachers. You might even consider bringing your students into the mix. How can we help you learn? It's amazing how creative our students can be, and allowing them to help take ownership of the situation will go far. This is an all hands on deck event. And remember, if we haven't told you yet, ESCO is here to help.